Hello everyone, welcome to day 4 of our Hearthstone Battlegrounds Season 8 reveals. This is on August 20th, we're getting our new season, and today we are going to be talking about Naga and Quilboar. Let's go. Okay, we have some pretty spicy changes for Naga, so let's start with what's leaving. Our first minion leaving is the Mini Myrmidon. Little tier 1. Next up, we have our Silent Swimmer, the Stealth Spellcraft. That was a lot of S's. After that is the Corrupted Myrmidon, and that was our tier 5 that doubled its stats. Next, we have our Slither Spear, Lord of Gains is leaving, the end of turn Naga. I actually really liked this one. It was a very interesting line of play. I had a lot of fun with this and built some very large boards. And last but not least for leaving is Silivaz the Vindictive, which was the spellcraft of discovering a spell, a tavern spell. Sad to see that one go as well. But now we can get to what's returning or has changed. Let's actually start with what changed first. We're starting with the Snail Cavalry. Used to be a tier 2 5/2, and it's moving down to tier 1, and it's a 3/2, and it gains +1/+1 once a turn. So a little bit more consistent permanent scaling that exists now on tier 1. Our other minion that's changing is the Zesty Shaker. This is on tier 4. This is a pretty interesting change to me. Instead of spellcraft in the wording, it now is spell. So when you play a spell on Zesty Shaker, you get a copy of it. Doesn't have to be a spellcraft. That opens up so many different lines of play, in my opinion, because Zesty Shaker was pretty exclusively good for Naga comps, and now it's not. Another minion coming back, but slightly different. This is Warden of Old on tier 3. Instead of a death rattle, it's a spellcraft of gaining 1 gold. So no longer with the Infinity Millionaire comp where you use a macaw to proc the Warden of Old and make so much money. That doesn't exist anymore. It's a spellcraft now. On tier 5 coming back is the Critter Wrangler. This is when you cast a spell on a minion, you give it +2/+2. Now we have 2 tier 6 minions returning. Tidemistress Athissa is coming back on tier 6. Whenever you cast a spell, give 4 friendly Naga +1/+1. I can't remember previously if Athissa was spell or spellcraft, but is spell now. It is, of course, still very Naga driven because it's 4 friendly Naga. However, we saw on our neutral reveal day that we have so many ways of creating these like amalgam driven comps, like all type comps. So Athissa could very much be a part of one of those. And last but not least, returning to tier 6, we have Orgozoa the Tender. This is a spellcraft of discover a Naga. I didn't realize that the second part of Orgozoa's name was the Tender. Like a Naga tender? Anyways, similar to Silivaz, but instead of spells, we get minions, and I don't hate it. I, in fact, like it. We only have 1 new Naga coming to the Battlegrounds, and this is the Volcanic Visitor. It's a tier 3. This is a spellcraft, choose 1. So it's a choose 1 again, but you get to use it every turn. Give your minions +2 attack until next turn, or +2 health until next turn, and the golden version gives +4 of either. I think that this is some awesome tech for like, oh, I want to keep my minions alive. Like, are you feeling offensive or defensive this turn? I think it's fun. I like it a lot. Volcanic Visitor. And this is give your minions, it's not give your Naga, so you can include this in a menagerie board or like while you're scaling a board to start. Moving on now, we have our Naga trinkets. Starting with our lesser trinkets, we have Lorewalker Scroll. This is 4 gold. Whenever you cast a spell on a minion, give it +2/+2. So it's basically like the Critter Wrangler, but you can get it much earlier, right? On turn 6, 8 gold. Next up is Replica Cathedral. This is 3 gold. Your first spell each turn cast twice. I did like the Temporal Tampering quest reward where you could have your spells cast twice. And of course I'm gonna like this one, right? Your first spell each turn cast twice. You have to target it specifically. It could be a spellcraft, it could be a spell, but I think it's really good. There's a potential for a lot of value there. This one is insane. This is Shaker Portrait for 6 gold. You get a Zesty Shaker, and your Zesty Shakers give an extra copy of the spell. Zesty Crooner is real gross. Yeah. That's really good. Really, really good. Last, for our lesser trinkets, we have Rusty Trident. For 3 gold, start of combat, give your Naga Death Rattle, get a random spellcraft spell. The RNG is there, you know, you could get something like just a ton of the little taunt guys, the Deep Sea Angler spellcraft, or you could get like Glowscales and like Orgozoa spellcraft and like gold, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like, let's see how this goes. With the amount of spells that you're hoping to play, I don't see this could be a bad thing, but I also don't see you summoning a whole lot of Naga like that. So we'll see. For our greater trinkets, we have the Lorewalker Scroll, but the greater version. This is now +5/+5 instead of +2/+2. Still costs 4 gold as well. I think I would be more likely to take the lesser trinket than the greater trinket, because at that point in the game, this feels a little bit lackluster in terms of what value it can actually give. Of course, it's a little bit more targetable, and you don't have to keep the Critter Wrangler on your board to get value that is more than the Critter Wrangler, but I'm not 100% on this one. Our next greater trinket is the Glowscale Portrait. This is 4 gold, get a Glowscale, and your first spellcraft enchantment each turn is permanent. So this is like Lady Vash, but before the nerf. I liked Lady V when you could pick whatever spellcraft you wanted to be permanent, and this feels like that. I think the scaling, pun intended, could be insane. Last but not least, this was one of the ones included in the blog post. We have the Spitescale Sushi roll for 6 gold. Get a Spitescale special, which is that spell that gives you 3 spellcraft. Your spellcraft spells cast twice. Yeah, the scaling on that, have I been saying scaling this whole time and just noticed it? The scaling on that feels absurd. I feel like this should also be noted though. This is similar. You know how we all found out when Nala did not interact with the tavern spells cast twice? It was just the one that you cast. This feels similar for Athissa. Your spellcraft spells cast twice, but Athissa is whenever you play a spell. So you won't get the extra value from Athissa, but whatever those spellcraft are, you will still get that value, so that's still really good. All right, that's all we got for Naga, and now we're moving on to Quilboar. Leaving Quilboar. This is sad. We have a Grogu, or as people actually know this minion, Geomagus Rugug is leaving, which is probably a good thing because we have some pretty insane things happening, but we're sad to see Grogu go. Also leaving, as we mentioned before with Demon, Felboar, it will be leaving as well. We only have 1 minion returning for Quilboar, so we're not seeing too much change. 1 minion returning is the Thorncaptain. That's the Quilboar Pirate, tier 1. After a card is added to your hand, gain +1 health until next turn. And this feels definitely very prevalent, especially actually as you get into the later turns. So, I like this minion. I liked it when it was here before, and I'm happy to see it back. As for new minions, we only have 2 coming for Quilboar. The first one is the Fearless Foodie. This is on tier 4. Another choose one. Your gems give an extra +1/+1 this game, or get 4 blood gems. The golden version is +2/+2 or 8 blood gems. I really do love seeing another opportunity to buff gems, right? Because an extra +1/+1 for your blood gems. You don't necessarily have to worry about the Moon Bacon or the Prickly Piper if you haven't gotten there yet, but you do a little bit later pivot to Quilboar. You get to scale them at the same time. And the fact that it's choose one means that you can't just re-trigger this over and over again. So tier 4 is a just fine place for it, in my opinion. Also coming for Quilboar is the Hot Air Surveyor on tier 5. Blood gems played from your hand cast an extra time, and the golden version is 2 extra times. So that's what I was saying when I was talking about probably not the worst thing that Rugug is leaving, because that's so much blood gem value. As long as you are playing from hand, so much value. Well, that was fast. Now we're on to Quilboar trinkets. For our lesser trinkets, we're starting with the Quilligraphy Set. That's really fun to say. It's 4 gold, Avenge 4. Your blood gems give an extra +1/+1 this game. So we are now seeing another way to scale your blood gems, and this is Avenge 4. All you need to do is run like half of like a beast or undead comp at the front half of your board, and you just scale for like mid game, and then your gems are massive for late game. Next, for lesser trinkets, we have Hoggy Bank. This is 3 gold. It's a start of combat. Give your Quilboar Death Rattle, get a blood gem. Well, that works really well for the minion that lets your blood gems cast twice, doesn't it? That's another way of getting blood gems. Sometimes the gem generation is lacking, and that's a really great answer for that with that trinket. We just saw this with the Naga, but we have the Lorewalker Scroll for 4 gold. Whenever you cast a spell on a minion, give it +2/+2. I like this a little bit better with Naga because when you're getting to the point of the Quilboar and the blood gems, you usually eventually move the gems around, right? Like, oh, I want to get rid of this minion. You find the spell that moves gems from one minion to another, and that makes that minion really easy to sell. Sure, it's some good mid-game tempo, but I love the ability of not losing stats, and this is kind of negating that ability. Saw this one earlier as well. This is Replica Cathedral for 3 gold. Your first spell each turn cast twice. That's a blood gem. If that's a battle cry retrigger on your Moon Bacon Jazzer, whatever the case, it casts twice. Feels really good. And last for our lesser trinkets, we have Great Boar Sticker. The Great Boar, I remember the boar. This is 1 gold. Your blood gems give an extra +3 attack. So it's like an instantaneous triple proc on the Prickly Piper. That feels like it should have been a tongue twister, and if I thought about it hard enough, it would have been. Again, lots of attack. Good if your name is not Sway, or if you identify with the way that Sway plays. Onto our greater trinkets, we have the Conductor Portrait. This is 3 gold. Get a Snarling Conductor whenever you discard a card. Play a blood gem on all your minions. This actually opens up a whole line for like discard Quilboar, because you have the Mangled Bandit, you have the Conductor. Just run many of those and buff your board at the start of every turn. Next, we have the greater version of the Quilligraphy Set for 4 gold. Avenge 4. Your blood gems give an extra +2/+2 this game. So if you already have plenty of ways of getting gems on your board, but not a lot of buffs on those gems, here's your answer. And a greater version of Lorewalker Scroll is next for 4 gold. Whenever you cast a spell on a minion, give it +5/+5. I think I have the same issue that I had with this on the lesser trinket side of things, where you don't necessarily want to buff the base minion with Quilboar builds because you lose that value. That's greedy. It's good to do damage and, you know, take your opponents down a little bit, but in the long run, it does feel a little bit bad to lose those stats, and especially if that is like what you're committing your trinket to. I probably wouldn't for me personally, but that is a lot of stats. Let's also understand that this is when you cast a spell on a minion, not when something else plays blood gems on a minion, not when a spell cast twice is when you specifically physically cast it. Our next greater trinket is the Blood Golem Sticker. This is 4 gold. Whenever a friendly Quilboar dies, summon a golem with stats equal to its blood gems. Okay, that does feel really good for a couple reasons. Let's pretend you taunt something and you're like, yes, this very large minion is taunted, and then your opponent runs a Bramble Witch into it. I use Bramble Witch as an example a lot, but it's a very commonly used counter for large minions, right? So all of a sudden, your minion turns into a 3/3, and you're so sad. But wait, you have the Blood Golem Sticker. That minion, even though it turned into a 3/3, still had all those blood gems on it. That won't change. It's not summoning based on the stats it had when it died. It's summoning based on the blood gems that it had on it. So sure, you lose a minion to the Bramble Witch, but if it had like 200 in gems, you get all those stats right back. This is really, really, really good. Our next greater trinket is the Jar O Gems. This is 3 gold. After 2 friendly minions attack each combat, play a blood gem on all your Quilboar. So this is not 2 attacks, so this isn't like you can't run the Scallywagon. This is 2 friendly minion attacking. Hypothetically, you're looking for a Bristlebach, you haven't found it yet. You have 2 Tough Tusk. They attack. They get their shields back, even though there's no Bristlebach. I like this. And our very last greater trinket for Quilboar is the Great Boar Sticker. This is 6 gold. Your blood gems give an extra +4/+4. I like this one better because I like attack and health. That's a lot of extra stats, especially at this point if you've established somewhat of a Quilboar board where you're generating gems or, you know, getting some kind of regular gemeration. It's really good. And that's all I have for you today with Naga and Quilboar. I really like the change to Naga. I like the shift back in the direction that Naga were when they first came out. I think that Quilboar didn't get impacted too greatly, but I think that there's enough to increase some lines of play. Stoked about these. They feel pretty consistent a few things broken, but mostly just really good things. So let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all tomorrow for day 5. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.